According to the database of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the top 5 countries by number of heads of sheep were mainland China, Australia, India, Iran, the former Sudan. Approximately 540 million sheep are slaughtered each year for meat worldwide. The sheep were bred in 2 ways, naturally or artificial insemination method. Sheep are grazing mammals often kept as livestock on farms. Sheep can be used for meat, wool and milk. Sheep generally have a lifespan of 6 to 14 years. As soon as a lamb is born, it should drink a large amount of colostrum, which is the first milk that comes from mother sheep after birth. It is unlike normal milk because it is full of protein, fats, and antibodies that help a lamb thrive. Getting lamb to drink colostrum should be a priority immediately after birth. Lamb should have about 500 milliliters of good quality colostrum over the first day of its life. Feed the lamb milk replacement. Once the lamb has drunk colostrum for the first day of its life, we can switch to milk replacement. The lamb will need to begin by drinking 140 milliliters of milk replacement every 4 hours. Increase the amount of milk replacement the lamb drinks gradually. Over the course of the first couple weeks, gradually increase the amount it eats to 500 milliliters every 4 hours. When the lamb is several weeks old, we can begin giving it access to grass, hay, and water. As the lamb begins to eat these things, we will be able to wean it off of milk replacement. By the time it is 3 months old, it should be totally weaned. Castration, placing special rubber bands around testicle, to prevent full development of reproductive organs and hormones. Tail docking is usually carried out to prevent blowfly strike. Get lamb vaccinated early in its life, around 3 months of age. Vaccinations for tenants and pulpy kidney are typically recommended by veterinarians. Earmarking is used to identify each lamb in the flock. Provide year-round shelter. Sheep need a shelter that protects them from all the elements, year-round. These elements include sun, wind, and rain. While a barn is great, the nice thing about having a barn with stalls is that you can separate sick or pregnant sheep from the rest of the flock. A shaded area outside is a good idea, so that the sheep can be outside in the warm weather, but have somewhere cool to graze. This could be anything from an overhang off the barn, or a clump of trees. state-of-the-art slatted sheep shed in County Roscommon, Ireland. The shed has space to accommodate 176 ewes. There are 2 feed passages and 16 sheep pens. Each pen can only hold 11 ewes or 13 if sheared. This should reduce bullying at feeding time and make handling ewes at lambing easier. Plastic sheep slats were used in most of the shed. All slurry tanks are 1.8 meters deep. Deep slurry tanks leave the option open to convert shed to hold cattle. A walkway in the middle of the shed allows access from one passage to the other. One row of pens has concrete multi-purpose slats. This row of pens can be used for cattle if required. The feed barrier here is also multi-purpose. The horizontal bar in the center can be adjusted up and down to suit sheep or cattle. There is a gap under the eaves for extra inlet ventilation. A new high-tech sheep shed has been unveiled which will allow Rothamsted researchers to monitor the impacts of livestock in real-world farming systems. The Robert Orr Small Ruminant Facility will become an integral part of the farm platform and will house 400 or more ewes and up to 60 goats, with group and single-pen facilities for feeding and behavioral research trials, including 24 automatic feeding pens. It will help scientists study different ways of rearing and producing lamb, and examine whether a switch away from red meat is good for the environment in the UK. Sheep are grazers. They prefer to eat short, tender pasture like grass, clover, alfalfa, chicory, legumes, shrubs, etc. Alfalfa is a very strong basis for a good pasture. Sheep will spend about 7 hours a day grazing. Hay is basically cut, dried, and baled forage. It tends to be a grass or legume like alfalfa or clover. Alfalfa and clover hays tend to be more nutritious and preferred by most animals. The amount of hay needed will depend on the quality of the hay, use of pasture, condition of sheep, pregnant ewes, or with lambs, and amount of grain being fed. A reasonable estimate for feeding strictly hay is about 3.5% body weight per day. Before the prevalence of commercial feeders, many old farmers used to base their sheep diet entirely on pasture, whole corn and hay. However, the most common commercial breeds that have been nowadays selected for meat or dairy production respond greatly to commercial feeders. The diet of a dairy sheep is different to that of a meat sheep. As a rule of thumb, meat sheep can rely only on pasture, hay and a small quantity of grain, whereas the diet of a milking or pregnant sheep is usually supplemented with commercial feeders, which normally contain a higher quantity of grains. Those proteins have the amino acid balance necessary to maximize muscle growth and development. The average recommended daily dose is from 2 to 4 pounds for an adult sheep. Consult your veterinarian for exact type and dose, or read carefully the label of each feed. In all cases, sheep must have 24 hours access to fresh water inside their shelter. Maintain their hooves properly, provide a dry surface for sheep to walk on the majority of the time, and helps to avoid things like foot rot. Shear sheep at least once a year. Sheep with longer fleeces will need to be sheared twice a year. Consider shearing sheep before the onset of warmer weather and avoid shearing before cold weather.